as a result of the business and the entertainment, facilitated the stuff that I did that was really valuable, like the charity runs.
I want to welcome someone that I've had before, not long ago actually, and many of you already know him. You saw him on TV, you saw him in charity runs, you've seen him in the gym, you've seen him almost every place you go in Japan. I am so honored to have again on our podcast, Chuck Wilson. Thank you, Chuck. Thank you. And the best man in my wedding.
I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave.
No. So Chuck, last time we didn't get to finish totally because we try to keep this to about an hour.
Right.
And I remember last time we went up to where you started working in a gym.
Right.
Right? With Clark Hatch?
Right.
Right? And I remember that's why I met you actually at Clark Hatch.
Yeah.
Because it was right next door to the American Club, which we bought that property now.
Yeah.
But it was right next door to there. And I came over to the gym. The little skinny black guy comes into the gym, and I see this big muscular white guy, and I said, "Hey, I think I want to make him my friend." So, and we had something in common.
To your regret, I'm sure.
No, to my benefit. And then we started talking, and we hit it off because we had something in common. We were in the Air Force together.
Yeah.
And we hit that off, and there was some commonality there. And it was fun. We had a good time. I still remember, you may not remember this, you had a Honda too. Honda, what was it?
750.
It was 750.
Yeah.
And you gave me a ride on it once. And I can't remember from where to where. If it was from Abisu back to Clark Hatch.
I still have the scars on my stomach, actually.
Right. Yes, because you were riding like a bat out of hell. I'm telling you.
What?
Yes. We were going through the backside. And then you also had a Toyota? It was a little Toyota.
I had a Honda. Little Honda
Civic.
Yeah.
That's right. And you drove that the same way you rode your bike.
That was a great car. That was great. I tell you what, all you did put gas and oil in it, and that thing, and it was so, it didn't matter if you bumped into a few things. It was no big deal.
Yeah, and you had the marks to show for it.
Well, none of that was my fault.
Yeah, there's some streets here in the back streets that I remember because of riding with you on your bike and in your car that I still use today. Over by Nishimachi, those areas, because you said, okay, we don't have to go around this way, let's go down this way, the one-way streets and stuff.
Yeah, the wrong way.
That's right, but we still did it.
Always works, the wrong way always works.
So Chuck, leaving off at Clark Hatch, tell us more about that. So you started with Clark Hatch.
Well, at the time I was in Kyoto, and I was keeping up my practice with judo. And just to pay the bills, everybody who was in Kyoto was teaching English. There is no real foreign business in Kyoto. So for a non-Japanese to work there, that's one of the few options.
At that time,
yeah. And it was very lucrative, actually. I was very, very comfortable. I had a very comfortable living. It was fine. I was in charge of the basic English training at National Panasonic. So plus private lessons. It was just great. It was doing well. I'd never been very good with money, unfortunately, but didn't seem, no matter how much I made, it always just kind of went away. But anyways, but it was fine. And I spent the third year in Kyoto, I spent almost entirely in the hospital. I had different things. I had pneumonia. I had 2 motorcycle accidents. I broke my ribs. Another judo accident broke my ribs. Then I had knee operation. Then I had 2 hernia operations. So I was in and out. So I was getting a little depressed. I couldn't do a lot of practice judo because you get one injury, you go back to judo practice, another injury, you go back in the hospital, had to take a rest, go back. Anyway, so as a result, I used the opportunity to go to language school and learn how to read or write the language, because I spoke the language pretty well after about 3 years.
Because wasn't that because of a guy you were staying with? You told me there was an old Japanese guy you stayed with for a while, and he was really strict with you.
No.
That wasn't you?
That's the wrong story, it wasn't me.
You sure?
Yep.
So no Japanese older men sat you in the room and hit you over the head with a bamboo stick and told you?
No, there were a lot of Japanese men that hit me over the head with different things, but it wasn't a living situation. Judo practice hall. Okay. The teachers at the head teacher at Dosha University where I was practicing, he showed me how to choke somebody out, and he demonstrated on me. And when I made a mistake at the police school, and I stood up and talked to the senseis that were kneeling down, and I got batted in the back of the head, knocked down, and said, "You never talk to the sensei with your head higher than them." So that kind of instruction, you don't forget. No, I lived by myself. It was fine. I lived initially in a format room, so I had to kind of sleep diagonally, but that was okay. And then I had a smaller apartment, but that's besides the point. And it was very pleasant. It was very pleasant. I had a bike, the first 750 Honda that came out. I bought the first one that came off the
assembly line. Yeah.
Assembly line, exactly. And I had a 250 cross country. We would go up in the mountains. The friends of mine, we go up the mountains and ride to the. It was a great.
You started riding bikes here? Had you ridden in the States before?
Oh, I'd ridden in the States. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The problem was that Kyoto was comfortable. It was too comfortable, and I didn't want to wind up my life teaching. This is a pen and this is a. I didn't want to do that. So I wasn't really looking for an opportunity, but it arose, and that's when a mutual friend of mine that I knew in Kyoto moved to Tokyo, was a member of Clark Hatch's gym, was talking to Clark. Clark said, "I'm looking for a manager, floor manager," and he said, "I know somebody," and he contacted me. I came up, talked to Clark, and I got the job.
Now, were you doing any weightlifting stuff in Kyoto?
Oh, of course.
Okay, so you're still doing that along while you were doing judo.
Yeah.
So you didn't stop from the moment you got started back in the beginning.
In fact, I did more.
Right.
Did more. Yeah, I was doing, I'd run in the morning, go to a judo practice at the Kyoto Police Academy, and then go do 2 hours of weight training, and then go to university and do 2 hours of judo, and then go to Osaka teaching. Let's come back to 2 more hours of judo at the local Machi Dojo kind of thing. So, no, I was doing a lot of judo and a lot of training, so much that a cold became pneumonia. So I didn't pay attention.
You thought that you could, you thought you could beat it.
Yeah.
You'll get over this.
I'll get over this. When you're 20.
That happened to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
24, 25, you're going to live forever.
I had acute pneumonia.
Oh, yeah.
So, one of my lungs was completely filled with fluid, and the other one was almost there. And he said, the doctors maybe over-dramatized it, but he said, if you would have come in a day late, and I drove myself to the hospital, he said, I don't think you would have made it, because I was sitting in the waiting line. You had to wait in the hospital.
Sure.
I couldn't do it, Chuck.
Yeah.
I went up to him and said, I'm sorry, I know I should, but I can't. Can I please see the doctor? He looked at me, took his pen, because he wouldn't touch me, looked under my arm a little bit, and he said, he saw my nose was sweating. He said, do you feel faint? I said, not until you said that. And then I did. And then the next thing I know, I'm on this, gurney being rolled out past the people. Didn't care. Yeah. My ego, nothing mattered. I did not care that they were doing that.
So I got the opportunity to come to Tokyo and interview for the job. And Clark said, yeah, you're the fellow I'm looking for, but I'm going to open up a gym in Korea. So I'm going to be occupied with that for a while, but it has nothing to do with your qualifications. I'll let you know as soon as I can. So he called me about a few months later and said, if you're ready, come on up. So it was fine. He paid for the move. He paid for the down payment on the apartment.
What type of apartment was it this
time?
time?
A small place in Meguro.
Okay.
6-mat room. It did have a shower, so.
Okay, which you didn't have before.
Which I didn't have before.
Okay, you had a community shower. Okay. Or you had to go to the onsen. Not the onsen, but the
ofuro.
The ofuro,
yeah,
yes.
And that was fine. That was fine.
Right.
I never had a problem with that. So anyways, it was good. And Clark would say, well, look, why don't we shift this up? After a while, he said, well, you seem to know what you're doing. So look, I'll do the morning shift. So he said, I'll do the morning shift from 6 o'clock until 3 o'clock. And when you come back because I was going to judo practice at the Metropolitan Police school, dojo. And so I would come back from that around noon and work until late, and he would leave around 3 in the afternoon. So that worked out really well. And we worked really well together. He mentioned to me once, Chuck, you can leave the gym. You don't have to stay in the gym all day long. I said, yeah, but that's what you're paying me for. He said, well, yeah, but you can go out and get something to eat once in a while, And because I loved it. It was great. And the gym was, number one, it was the only gym in Tokyo.
That's right.
And Clark had pioneered that. That was in 1965. He built the first gym after the '64 Olympics. And I came on in 73. Yeah, about 73, I think. And it was still the only fitness center. There were bodybuild centers and dance studios, but the total fitness center was the only place. And it had to be a men's center because men and women didn't work out together. So we had, well, it was great. Had a lot of fun. We had events every week. We'd run around the palace. Every 3 months, every season, we'd do some major event, like go on a ski trip or a golf tournament or something. It was great.
Is that running around the palace where you came up with the idea for the run for the?
No, what came up that one of our members was president of Pepsi-Cola in Japan.
Okay.
And he approached me and he said, look, you know, in the United States we have these fun runs. And I said, okay. He said, can we do something here? I said, I don't know, but let me see what we can put together. So actually Clark and I, and there was another public relations person got involved. And so we decided to put this together in this way. And I took it to the Japan Times because Japan Times was soliciting money to buy wheelchairs to donate. And I said, look, you're soliciting money through your newspaper, but why don't you do a run and bring attention to the plight of people that need wheelchairs? And they said, well, we're not sure about this. I said, look, it's going to be a great thing. I'm sure it will be. And it was, right off the bat. And the Clark Hatch Fitness Center sponsored it.
What year was this?
This was, wow. This had to be 1977 or 78.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you started all that.
Well,
basically, I mean, but you were at the spearhead. You're at the tip of all of that.
Yes.
You're most definitely one of the organizers.
Well, yeah, absolutely, yeah, the organizer.
That's right.
But the Chiyoda Doyukai, I think that's the name. It's a running group that runs around the palace, and so they were familiar with the route, and I knew the guy as a taxi driver, and he was doing this part time. So we put it together, and it was kind of an ad hoc kind of thing. We just basically got people together, ran around the palace, and that was it. It wasn't really sophisticated at all.
But then you set up, and I remember, I think the first time I saw you was on TV, and somebody was doing, it was a news report, and they were talking about your run,
Right.
and you had hundreds, not a few people, you had hundreds of people in front of you. You're standing up on the stage, speaking in Japanese, Kansai Ben, which I didn't know if it was Kansai or whatever, I just know, I said, here's this white guy speaking Japanese fluently, and everybody, yeah, getting excited.
That was great. It was great. And we raised, I think the first year we netted 8 million yen. Yeah, that was the first year. And it was like that for the next 8 years, as long as I was involved. So that was fine. And a tremendous thing. Wheelchairs and donated to kids who really need it. It really was very, very touching. Even now talking about it, I get choked up about it because it was really.
So how did you tie that into the foreign, what was it called,
FCSC. Well,
FCSC, yeah. How'd
so
you
that
tie
was
in
8
with that? years
years of that, right? So during that time, enter the entertainment business. It's just a very mixed bag, believe me.
But you were still with, no, you'd stopped with Clark Hatch?
No,
You're
still
still
with
with Clark
Clark, yeah,
Hatch?
I'm
Okay.
still with
So
Clark
you had the run,
Yeah. And
the
gym.
FC was foreign, what was it called?
Oh, wait a minute, wait a minute.
Okay.
The Japan Times run, that was it. There was no committee.
There was no committee.
Right.
Right.
But, so then I got involved along with doing everything else, with all the event planning, everything we did, running a gym, and that was fine. I became partners with Clark also in Hong Kong and in Brisbane and in Texas during that time. So people put in like, $25,000 and we built these places. So yeah, I was very, very busy. And then in the gym, we had a corporate membership with Dentsu Corporation. And Dentsu Corporation handles a lot of the PR, and they're hand in glove with television networks and radio kind of thing. And so they would get behind a new program, and we had a corporate membership, so we had like 8 or 10 guys that worked for Dentsu that came to the gym. So one of them, a fellow by the name of Hisamasu, he said, Chuck, because in the gym you're always kind of over the top, glad handing, how you doing, let's get working out kind of thing, trying to motivate people. He said, how'd you like to be on TV? I said, not particularly. He said, do you watch TV? I did not very much. I'm interested in samurai flicks. I like those, and I watch sumo, but that's about it. I don't really particularly like Japanese television. The humor is slapstick, and ridiculing others, and I didn't find it interesting. But the Chambara was great. I loved it. I watched it all the time. Mito Como and then all these, that was great. Anyways, so he said, well, we have this one show. I said, look, I know nothing about the entertainment business or anybody in the business. He said, well, we have this one show, and all you have to do is guess the price of something. It's patterned after The Price is Right in the United States. I said, oh, well, I'll tell you what. I'll be on your show, but you have to run a tell-up. When I'm on the show, you have to, underneath, when I'm on, of the Azabu Clark Catch Physical Fitness Center. So the idea was to promote the fitness center if people watched the show. So that was the objective. So, and the show just went over the top. It was like 29% shodizu, which is how many, like literally everybody in this country watched that on Thursday evenings.
And all you were doing was guessing the prices of something.
Guess the price of something.
This is before the arm wrestling?
Oh, no, it was after that. But
that's what I thought. See, the arm wrestling, you were already on TV. See, you're missing parts.
No.
That's where I saw you too.
Well, the arm wrestling, Clark instigated that with Channel 12. Because they approached him in the gyms. They were doing arm wrestling. We need two foreigners to stand behind and act as seconds to these people doing the arm wrestling. So you're sitting there. You're not allowed to talk or speak or do anything except stand there. So you're just a prop. So it was okay. They didn't pay you a lot of money, but you promoted Clark and me and the gym, and so that was okay. There was no tell-up underneath. There was no advertisement, but it was okay. That kind of thing. But the Price is Right kind of show. So Sekai Marugoto How Much, that was just, it hit the roof. It was just amazing. Seems the Japanese are very, very interested in money. Like we don't know that. But so they bring these weird items in, like how much does this island in Mallorca cost? Just off the wall kind of thing. And the way you interacted with the MC, this Ohashi Kyosen, was the entertainment that people watched. And there were 4 people on the panel, and there was Pete Takeshi, and there was Ishizaka Koji, and then there was myself and Kent.
Delegate.
No.
Gilbert?
Kent Gilbert.
Kent Gilbert, okay.
So he was on 2 days a month, and I was on 2 days a month. And then there were 2 guests that came on as well, generally from the entertainment industry. And so I was on once, and I joked around. And my language in Japanese is, I can speak polite Japanese, obviously. But it's been reinforced with relationships with police and judo players who come up from the riot police. It's rough language, so I use that on television. And I kind of got a reputation. Kent was always very polite. He learned Japanese from whatever, and he learned it in school, and he spoke basically the normal Japanese polite language. And I wasn't. I was very, very rough. And it's almost profanity, but not quite. Anyway, so I talked to Ohashi Kyosen, who was like the Johnny Carson of Japan. And it was very disrespectful. But everybody loved it. I said, hey, Turkey, come on, will you please explain this stuff? You're not doing your job, come on. And they just loved it. So I thought it was going to be a one shot. And then they said, look, that was great. Why don't you come back next week? I said, really? Yeah. I said, and here's the money for today. Wow. I said, oh, well, yeah, that's a good idea. And you'll still do the promote the center? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So every other Saturday, you go, there's no preparation. You just go in cold and you do this show and you guess the price of whatever's on. So no coaching, nothing. And it was just, fun kind of thing initially. Well, the entertainment industry in this country, once you've achieved a certain level of recognition, they want you on everything. They want you on everything. Every, cooking shows and athletic shows and fashion shows, everything. And all of a sudden you're authority on anything, We'd like to can you please tell us how to build a nuclear device? Well, sure, I can do that. It was off the charts. So then Hisamatsu-san, who was the guy from Dentsu, said, well, look, Are you interested in the entertainment industry? Well, I guess, if it promotes the center, it promotes the business, and if it promotes me, yeah, but that promotes the center. So, all right, sure. He says, well, look, then you need to have a manager. So the old manager of Ohashi Kyosen's office, named Kondo-san, and we get together, and we made a contract. And the contract said that he would do whatever he could to promote me in different shows. And I stipulated in the contract, I will have the final say-so on what show I will be on and what show I will not be on. Because I got other things to do. And what I will do and what I will not do. Because they wanted me to advertise alcohol and being drunk while I was doing it and cigarettes. And I said, but I can't do that. I can't do that. Personally, I don't want to do that. And professionally, I can't do it. So anyways, and it was okay until it wasn't. So the problem was we all require verification to our worth and our ability. We all do that. We all do it in different ways. The fitness business is very much about that. It's very much people doing physical effort to build their own sense of their own value in their own eyes. They don't, if they do it with weight training, they don't have to solicit that tap on the shoulder from somebody else. They know what they can do, and it enhances their feelings of what they can do, of their own value. I mean, you and I talked about this a long time ago. And so that's the business, really, I'm in. Fitness and health, yeah. But the real reason why people adhere to it is because of that feeling of that they are enhanced personally, that they are better, stronger, and that they can, and they carry that over into other aspects of their life as well. Well, the entertainment industry is that on steroids. Everybody thinks you're the greatest thing since white bread. I can't tell you, you walk into a restaurant and if you were standing in, they would knock everybody out of line and say, you first, we got your table ready. It would just, everywhere you went, would you like a seat? It was just amazing. It was, and it, in the positive aspects, is it lended a sense of confidence to me to eventually go out on my own and start my own business. Because working with Clark was great. I mean, I learned a lot from the man. And Clark was a visionary. He started the fitness industry not only in Japan, but in Asia. And he's still a driving force in the fitness business. And we had managerial meetings. He ran it well. In Clark's position, it was kind of like my way or the highway kind of thing. He was very, very adamant, you do things my way, even though you are an equal partner. It never was really equal. And so in that respect, you could always work for Clark, but working with Clark had certain limitations. You could only work with Clark if it was done his way. And for a lot of people that worked out really well. And for me it worked out really well, until it didn't. Mm-hmm. So the good thing about the entertainment industry, it gave me the confidence to believe in my own ability. Above and beyond just the weight training and the athletic. But
is that when you guys split?
Yeah, well, that was kind of a mixed thing. Clark, a lot of people who saw me on television, and they were not particularly impressed. And they were members of the gym, and what they wanted was me there at the gym teaching them what to do. And I said, no, I'm going to do this. And so they put a bug in Clark's ear and said, this guy is, he's looking to build himself up kind of thing. And Clark confronted me and says, what are you going to do? Are you going to be a gym owner or are you an actor? I said, well, I don't see why you can't do both. So we hit a compromise initially. Another person came in from the United States. He was the manager. I was the owner with Clark. And that worked out all right. But it wasn't the same. And so eventually Clark said, look, this is not working.
How long were you able to do it that way?
Not very long, actually, okay. Maybe a couple years.
Okay.
Then he said, look, he says, why don't we just go our separate ways? Part of it was all of that, the recognition that I received that he felt detracted from my performance at the gym and my presence. And I have to give him, it's true. At one point I should have spent more time at the gym. But again, the entertainment interest is very alluring because of all this build up. You're just the greatest thing. And it's very, very, and I tried not to let it go to my head, but it's almost impossible for it not to go to your head a little bit. Fortunately, I had my feet firmly in the judo world and in powerlifting. My wife was very, very supportive, but not, I go home and tell you, well, you got to take out the trash,
That's right.
Yeah, she kept you. She
kept you in reality, right?
Yeah. So it was okay. So finally, Clark and I said, well, look, Clark, he said, why don't you just do what you want to do, but I'll buy you up. And it was very fair. Give me a very good price. So I said, okay. So I started my company, Chuck Wilson Enterprise, which I still have. And at that time, I thought it was a great opportunity in Japan because that was the beginning of the bubble. And as you
so we're talking late 80s?
We're talking early 80s.
Early 80s.
80s, so 1983.
Right, because it lasted for a decade, almost 2 decades.
Yeah.
Just 1 decade, yeah.
One really. And that was land speculation.
That's right.
And with land speculation came with land speculation.
That's right. Because all this was Narikin at that time. You had all these people, farmers, selling all their land to banks for, phenomenal amounts, and they were really coming out, but they had no knowledge.
If you had a piece of land, and right, but you buy a piece of land for $1 million yen today, you sell it for tomorrow for 3 million yen. So money was just floating all around, very, very easy money. And the banks supported it, unsecured loans, which they're still paying for. And the government supported it. Tremendous influx of tax money for the government. Everybody was making a huge amount of money. Ezra Vogel said Japan's management style, Japan's management style was land speculation. Anyways, so the thing is, fitness centers boomed. And the reason that fitness centers were prolific, there were like 450 fitness centers being built a year for 10 years. Just, if you had a piece of land and you wanted to develop the land and you wanted to put a building on the land to avoid, because if you just kept the land, you were taxed exorbitantly. But if you built a building on the land, your tax obligation went down a bit. But it took you time to get the approval from the government to build the building. But if you had a fitness center in the building, you got approval right away. Now, what can I say?
Okay.
I don't know why, but that's what happened.
That's why they all okay.
So people said, great, well, what we'll do is I'll build a fitness center. So one of the building, they have a very small room and they put a machine in. That's our fitness center. And they knew nothing about what they were doing, which was great for me because then then they came to me and said, how do you run a fitness center? And, I went to Clark. When this started, people came to Clark, said, we're building a builder center, can you help us out? It was an opportunity, I think, for Clark that he decided not to take advantage of. He had his own ideas about and then, his gyms now, the total value, I think he grosses like $35 million a year. So he did the right thing for him, but not necessarily for the people that were working with him. It was very, very much Clark Hatch, which was fine. If I was in his position, I might have done the same thing. But for me, I said, well, maybe I want to try to take advantage of this boom. And people came to me and paid me a great deal of money to build them fitness centers. So that's what I did from 1983 until 1990. We did the market survey, we did the business plan, we worked with construction people, we did concept analysis, we built, operated, staffed about 25 different fitness centers all over the country. And the idea was we built them, we'd staff them, we'd run them for 3 years, and then we hand it back over to the people. And then if they kept us on as an advisory, that was fine, but I wanted to expand. I did not want to work in one fitness center which had a substantial membership. When Clark moved to Hawaii back in around 1978, he moved to Hawaii to set up his major headquarters. These opportunities were manifesting. So I'd ask Clark, we're thinking about, building these things. What do you think about this? He said, no, I'm not going to do that. So I said, okay. So, but in around 1983, more and more people were coming to me to do that. I said, okay, well, we'll do it. So we did. And that, the entertainment industry and the Chuck Wilson name facilitated that. Which was, and I told people, don't rely on the name, rely on how it's operated. But they didn't. And so we did whatever we could, but most of our places were successful. Some of the places who relied totally on the name were not. And that was okay.
By this time, you had how many books out?
How many gyms?
How many
Oh,
books?
books? Wow. Well, that's another
Because you were
story.
writing books too.
Yeah, you know,
I know I remember still, but you had a lot of books out with your name and your face on them.
6
Okay.
books.
That's a lot of books.
And I wrote the books in English and they were
Right,
translated.
right.
But it was all about fitness and health. And there was no, it was more of a how-to kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So and that facilitated, everything worked symbiotically. So the entertainment industry promoted the name and the business, and the business facilitated more introduction, more expanded the network of people that I knew. And everything was coming up roses. I wanted to write a book. The advantage for me personally for the entertainment industry was you could do anything. Anything you wanted to do. What do you want to do, Chuck? Well, you know, I'd like to write a book. Let's write a book. Okay. So I wrote a book about fitness and health. It was very much a how-to kind of thing. And it went to one of the major publishing houses and got it published. And it was pretty good, 15,000 copies, which is kind of a bestseller in Japan. There were no other books like that. Now there are a lot. And then there are a few more. So 6 books altogether in Japanese. And I proofread all of them, made sure it was okay, and that was fine. And then the bottom fell out.
This is 1990?
1990.
See, I think we got hit at the same time. This is just at the beginning of the Gulf War. When that hit, I remember watching my TV and sitting up in my beautiful multi-level, 2-level apartment, which is no joke. And I had 2 other apartments in Abisu and my cars and stuff. And I'm watching my 39-inch Mitsubishi TV, which was the biggest they had at that time. And I see these tanks out in the desert, and they start talking about the Iraqi war. And they said, looks like this might be the start of World War III. And I said, that's a shame people, you know, I had my arms across my couch. It's a shame people have to fight nowadays, because I had scanners in the warehouse. I'm ready to, the mother load's gonna come in.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I hear the fax, and I thought, World War III. And as soon as I heard that, I said, because my business at that time, the scanner business was like the diamond business. Just word of mouth. There's no letters of credit.
Yeah, yeah.
You say you're going to buy it, I trust you, because then we're talking about large amounts.
Yeah.
And I went, no. And exactly what I thought. The guy, all the faxes came in. Lance, we're going to hold off for a while.
Yeah, yeah.
That
yeah.
means we're holding on our money because we think World War III is going to happen. They heard the same time I did. And I went, no. This was going to be the mother load. This was going to be the one that's going to put me over the top.
Well, your business was certainly, especially the countries and people you were dealing with, certainly were understandably concerned. In here, the government saw the land prices were escalating so high that people couldn't afford to buy anything. So they put the clamps on. They said, if you buy a piece of land, you got to hold it for 3 years.
Same thing. Yeah.
And boom, and everything fell apart. My business was doing very, very well. We were almost $1 million company, almost. Just
that you could taste it.
Yeah, it just, you know, I had the letters of intent to contract, it just everything. And, you know, you get to a point where you're afraid to answer the phone, right? You say, oh, we're going to put this off for a while. Now, we've changed our plan.
Oh, you mean after, yes. Oh, man.
Yeah, no, we can't do this. No, this, certainly the war.
Now, had you done what a lot of people do, including myself, spent as if you were already going to have that money? I mean, not spend it, but put yourself in a situation where, you know.
I had 20 employees.
That's that kind of thing.
Yeah, which were obligations.
I had 3 apartments.
Yeah. So yeah, and you know, you had to. But I was doing okay. there were, even though the new contracts were stopped, the old contracts in terms of people that we sent in to operate those places, they stayed. But to build new ones, that didn't work. And some of them were just a tremendous amount of money. $50 million for NTT's golf fitness center. Anyway, so and I tried to discourage people. Was we did market service and look, don't do this, don't do this, don't. But they did anyways. So it was because money was so cheap. So they would just borrow and borrow and borrow and borrow and 2% interest, and they didn't worry about it. Well, no, we didn't do that. We never borrowed any money. So we worked on a cash basis. And so we were doing okay, except that we had obligations. And so, I was firmly away from the Clark Extra. The trouble is, the entertainment business took a dive as well, because nobody was paying what they used to pay for sponsors on television, and that's what drove the television shows. The entertainment business here is hand in glove with televisions, offices that handle certain types of entertainers, and the television, Channel 12, Channel 10, Channel 8, all these television channels, and people like Dentsu. So they work hand in glove. Very little recorded monies, except what you have to pay taxes on. So when I made a contract with them, they said, well, I have final say so in what we do, but when the bubble burst, they said, well, Chuck, that television show is no longer around. Okay. And a lot of people who worked for these managerial offices were upset because they weren't getting any work. And the work they were getting, they didn't feel they were getting paid what they said the television was paying these offices. A lot of scandals involved. I didn't worry about it. It was fine. And again, but everything collapsed in 1990. I remember the day, actually. It was June 15th, 1990. I was sitting in my office going over all the contracts and all that we had to do to make sure those contracts came to fruition. And the phone calls started coming in. And by June 30th, nothing.
15 days later.
15 days later. It was just immediate. When the government put in these regulations, you had to hold on to the property.
So how did you deal with that mentally?
I deal with it mentally? Well, I didn't have time to worry about it. I was just trying to figure out a way to pay the bills. So you didn't, curl up in a ball and, throw your hands up.
You didn't feel like you wanted to?
No, I had a choice, really.
Right.
Failure was never an option. And everything else, as a result of the business and the entertainment, facilitated the stuff that I did that was really valuable, like the charity runs, for example. So to get back just for a second to that, because of my involvement in the entertainment industry, the FCSC came to me and said, would you like to be on our committee?
That's how it started.
Yeah.
Okay.
A fellow by the name of Jim Adachi, who was a lawyer.
Right.
He said, yeah, we collect funds for the YMCA. I said, what does the YMCA do with those? Well, they sponsor these camps for physically and mentally handicapped kids. It's great. They said, we solicit donations. I said, how you doing on that? And then, well, now that there's a lot of money floating around, but people are still reluctant to donate. It was primarily supported by foreign corporations as opposed to the Japanese corporations. And they said, well, he said, now that you're on television a lot, would you like to help solicit donations? I said, I really think that's a tremendously inefficient way of doing things. I said, but I tell you what, I have an 8-year experience with Japan Times. I could do the same thing for you. Really? Yeah. So I put together a thing, and I took it to YMCA, and because they had to get approval to do it, and they said, well, we're not sure we can do this. I said, why not? I said, well, there's already one charity run in Tokyo. I said, yeah, I know, that's the Japan Times charity run, yeah. And he said, but they do that in the spring. That's right, well, we can do this one in the fall. Well, we're not sure. I said, look, I know it boils down to money. I'll tell you what, I'll give you 2 million yen. And if it fails, you keep the money. And if it succeeds, you give me back the money. He said, okay. So first year, another like 7-8 million yen net. Tremendous success. And that was Tokyo run. And Tokyo for 3 years. And then I was a member of the committee. And the committee was some very committed people, 5 ambassadors, heads of major corporations. But they had no idea how to implement things in the Japanese society. It was all non-Japanese members kind of thing. But I did. So the first charity run I think held in, I think 1970, maybe 1980. I'm fuzzy on that. I'm living in Yokohama now. So this was after about, wait a minute now. So this was 1987, I think, was the first one, so line of late. Because I know that I moved down to Yokohama in 1990. This related to the other businesses were falling apart, so I had to move. I moved down to Yokohama for another reason, because I started working in Nagoya. Anyways, so I was in Yokohama, and I was working in Nagoya. So I said, well, I'll take this to the Nagoya YMCA. Why can we do that? And said, no, Nagoya will never work. So all the members of the committee, 25 guys, say, no, Chuck, it won't work. I said, what do you mean it won't work? Well, give it a shot. What do you have to lose? You guys don't have to do anything. I'll go down there and do it. I'll sell it. I said, well, we don't think, Nagoya, come on. All right, no. All right. So there's a fellow who kind of started the YCAC, a fellow named Kendrick. And he said, well, look, Chuck did all right. Let's give him a shot. Okay. Nagoya was a tremendous success. Made more than Tokyo did. So then I was working in Nagoya and I was living in Yokohama. I said, well, living in Yokohama, I might as well try Yokohama YMCA too. So, and then I took that to the committee, and the committee says, and they just started laughing. Chuck, Nagoya, okay. But Yokohama, come on, Yokohama is like, they come to the Tokyo run. I said, yeah, but they might want to do one on their own. Nah, I said, give me a shot. Come on, give me a shot, guys. Because I couldn't do it without their approval. Yokohama run was successful. So they said, well, okay. So with these 3 runs, I made the committee more money than all 25 people with their donations. And it provided for longevity. So all of a sudden I had credibility, which was fine. And the YMCA was very happy. I had an idea to put a run in every city that has a YMCA in Japan. So they had the Rijikai, all of the heads of the YMCAs got together in Tokyo. And I attended the meeting and I said, listened to everything, and I raised my hand. I said, my name is, yes, we know, thank you for your work in Tokyo and Yokohama. I said, look, we've got a good thing going here. Okay, it seems to be taking off. People are very supportive. Volunteer people are very, very supportive. It's a great run. We've refined it. Why don't we do it in every city that has a YMCA? And they said, so everybody started looking down at the table. I said, okay, what's the problem? Because I'll say, it's got to be money. It's got to be money. As well, Chuck, one guy who had a little braver than everybody else, said, look, Chuck, anything we do at the local YMCAs, 70% has to be sent to Tokyo. So the head of the YMCAs was there, this fellow Iguchi. I said, Iguchi-san, what's the story in that? He says, well, there are a lot of YMCAs, and so we try and spread out the profit to all the YMCAs get benefit, a little bit of benefit. Okay, so I understand that's kind of a socialistic, but that's fine. The local YMCAs are disincentivized because they work hard and they only keep 30% of their. I tell you what, why don't we switch that around? Why don't you keep 70% at the local YMCA that does the work and send 30% to Tokyo? I think that's a good idea. So all the guys went, yeah, that's a good idea. We can do that. And I say, Iguchi-san, don't you think that's a good idea? 30%, and you got more runs, you get more money long term. Otherwise, you're going to stop. You only got to do 70% of 3 runs or 30% of 30 runs. What do you think? So, no, it's good. Good. Okay, we're all set. And that's how it started. And now we have 20 runs in 20 different cities.
There we go.
But that was then. The economic bubble, when it burst, it didn't affect that very much at all, actually. The runs were still conducted. And that was, for me, in the Japanese entertainment industry, it went from The Price is Right to sumo contests and all kinds of stuff that was okay. And I'm sure I don't know if it's just anybody or it's just me, but I used to be a very, very open, fun-loving, you remember the Clark Hatch, right? Not that way anymore.
You think it's because you had so many people coming at you from different directions? You lost a lot of your privacy from being on TV and everyone knowing you and thinking they know you.
Thank you.
They think they know you.
So you make a fool of yourself on television, and they think
People
that
they
that's
can
who
do
you
that.
are.
They think,
Or you go through a stage fight, and they think that's who you are.
Yeah, right.
And
So you must have a great deal of respect for people that are in that business when you watch them on, you see any of them, the famous people we knew, the Jack Bennies, the Bob Hopes, the Frank, those guys that had to be there every single second. And America at that time was the way Japan is now, starstruck.
well, again, that's why I said part of it's me. There are some people who just thrive, who love it. I remember I saw an interview with Julia Roberts once, and some interviewer asked her, "Do you have problems with all this adoration and so on?" She says, "What? Problems with it? Come on! Hey, I'm making a tremendous living. I'm having a great fun. I got contract. I'm doing great. I just love it. No, I have no problem with it at all." But I did. So now I'm when I work with people, it's fine. Like you and I talk, and that's fine. And so you and I go back a long ways, and we are fully aware of all the different things that we've been through. But everybody else isn't. And a lot of people have a secondary agenda. And a lot of people who approach me think that they, especially Japanese, think that they gain some benefit from being associated with me. That's okay when it facilitates a greater good like the charity runs. But one-to-one, I don't think, and you got to be careful, because sometimes you're manipulated into a situation where you got to be awfully cautious, where they want to capitalize on you for do something nefarious. Not very good. We've both been there. So you have to be cautious. So I'm very, very closed when I'm out in public. A friend of mine says, "Why are you, when you walk down the street, it seems like you're just waiting for the opportunity to impose a sense of physical violence on everybody walking towards you. You're very intimidating." I said, "That's not my purpose." He said, "I just want people to leave me alone. I don't want people to come near me."
But you've always had a little bit of that. That didn't, even before you got on TV. No, you were, well, in all honesty, the Chuck I know, even before anyone really knew you outside a little bit on TV, you were always ready to take somebody's neck off if they came into the wrong way.
Oh, well.
You've always you've always had that.
I've had, okay.
You've always had that.
I carry a lot. I've got a lot of baggage. I fully understand that.
But you sure did knock a couple of holes in doors and walls and stuff. No, wait.
Only one hole. In the door.
Okay, yeah.
But no. Lance, I spent most of my life learning how not to be afraid.
You told me that, right, growing up. And that's during your emotional, that's the most important time in your life. That's how you start to see yourself. Your emotional makeup comes at that time.
And then, in order to overcome that, I devoted a great deal of time to studying how to take physical advantage of another person. Then when I went to the Metropolitan Police School to study, and it's a practice hall. And these are arguably some of the best judo players in Japan at that time. And it was the most brutal practice in Japan, had a rep. It was what they call Kenka judo, which means you weren't playing judo, you were fighting judo. And it was brutal. I mean, there are chokes and joint locks and throws that you employ in judo to defeat an opponent. Well, but normally if the opponent taps or gives up, you let him go. Well, at the Keisho, they choke you whether you tap out or not, and they choke you till you're unconscious. So there's a lot of brutality involved. And I wasn't the only person. The college students who went there were shaking in their boots because they knew they were, and of the 10-man Keisho team, 5 were world champions. Very, very good players. Besides, being brutal. From the time I arrived in Tokyo and got my introduction to go there, when I went there, every day they said, when are you leaving? And I said, I'm not leaving. And I said, well, we'll see about that. And they did their best to convince me to leave. And all it did was make me much stronger. And for the first, when I was 27, it took me about 6 years for my hands to stop shaking before I went to practice, and for my teeth to stop chattering, because I knew I was going to get the whatever
beat out of you. Right.
But after a while, you learn, and I managed to return the compliment.
You know something, Chuck? Before we wrap up, because we're going to have to, there's one thing that I realized that I think that you benefited from that a lot of people, before they get it put in a situation like that, don't benefit from. Even though the Air Force basic training is like a accelerated Boy Scout camp compared to the Marines and the Army, you still find out what you can take.
You bet.
You find out what you can take. And
Absolutely.
that's 6 weeks when we went in. We only had 6 weeks. Everybody else had 8 weeks. Now I think everyone has 8 weeks. But you find out what you're made out of. Will you give up? Are you gonna, become a wimp and be tossed out? So to go to that, you knew coming in that you're gonna be tested. And then you already knew what you're made of, and it didn't matter how much they hit you, because you said, I'll take it.
Yep, absolutely. And
if you don't kill me, I'm still gonna come the next day.
There's only one small drawback, is pretty soon, once you learn how to give it back, you start to enjoy it.
I know that. I know. That's
So-
what happened to me in martial arts.
Yeah, so I try. I'm very, very calm. I'll avoid any possible confrontation now.
Now, because you're 70 years old, say me too. You just may not have the reflexes you think you do. You might go,
Anyways.
no, when you're young, no, all that testosterone coming through. But now, you might make a miscalculation.
That was another era. Anyway, so after all this, so in 1990 when everything burst, then I went to Nagoya. I worked for a company that sold equipment to hospitals.
You and Nancy went there? You just stayed? You kept her here?
No, Nancy was here, and I negotiated a contract. I went there Monday through Friday. They put me up in hotels. It was fine. I took over a couple of companies to sell exercise equipment to hospitals and clinics. It worked out pretty well. 5 years contract, 5 years, and it paid the bills for 5 years, and then it didn't. And then they said, well, thank you very much, but thank you very much. And so to speed this up, because we were running out of time, in 1995, I built a hospital-based fitness facility in Ibaragi. And that was to cater to people who were not healthy. Because fitness is about basic people who are pretty healthy, but they just need to be more healthy or more fit.
So you're talking about rehabilitation type
No,
thing.
it was,
not that.
no,
It was just,
a lot of people say that.
but it wasn't.
It wasn't really, because rehabilitation is done by the hospitals, but you only have a certain amount of time, and then you're kind of left to your own devices. So what this was after that, then you get
So
to
PT,
the next stage.
physical therapy?
No, it wasn't physical. You have to be a physical therapist to do that.
Right,
But it was exercise regimen, but it was not like the normal fitness exercise regimen for hypertension, hypertensive people, high blood pressure, and pre-diabetic, and overweight, and just generally, because the average age now is the average age of the member out there is like 73. Basically, as people get older, their muscular capacity diminishes so much, and now most authorities, including the WHO, recommend weight training, resistance training, over aerobic conditioning.
That's right. And
So-
particularly as you're getting older.
Yeah, exactly.
It's more important.
So, I put in my 2 hours a day, and I go out there once a week and coach people and teach people how to do it. And that's all fine, and I'm still doing that. That's the one thing that I've maintained that's still very, very worthwhile.
Well, not that. Do you also teach judo? You never stop teaching judo.
I teach
You still do
judo
that with kids. You're
I
still
teach
doing
kids
it,
judo
yes.
here at the American Club and at the
Right.
YCAC, and I'm starting an adult class here at the American Club
Okay.
on Monday evenings for all of you people who like to come
Right.
on Monday evenings or
There
adult
you go.
class. For 30 years, I taught the Imperial Guards Judo Club and Kendo Club. Recently, there was somewhat of an incident, and I felt that I had to withdraw, so I quit after 30 years. but it wasn't that bad of an incident, but it was more my interpretation. You know me, I carry a lot of baggage. And somebody just pushed the wrong button.
Yeah,
and I said, okay, I can't do anything about this except retreat. And I've always had a problem with authority. I remember the Chamber of Commerce. There was a guy, I started the Small Business Committee at the Chamber of Commerce.
And you know what I changed it to?
Huh?
You started that?
Yeah.
And you came up with the name, Small Business.
Right.
You know who changed the name to what it is now?
No.
Me.
Oh, really?
Because I said all businesses. I said the problem with it being
You're the guy.
And you're the guy. And I didn't know you were the one that started that, because that's interesting. Coming to this past, I'm on that committee as a small business person, and I said, because I had the scanner business too, and I'm making more money than most of the guys in there. And I said, just because the business is small does not mean that it doesn't have a lot of money. So we should change the name from Small Business Business Committee to Independent Business Committee.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm the one that changed the name.
Oh, turkey.
And I had it changed. That's right. That is right.
Well, at the time, Barney Williamson, who worked for Hercules Far East, he was a member of the fitness center, and I kept complaining to him and said, "Yeah, your Chamber of Commerce is great, but it's all like for people on the first tier of the stock exchange. We're small guys, don't get a chance. So why don't you start something?" Okay, I will. So I did, and it was myself and Hart Dake. Oh God, I'll pass. He used to run English.
Say his name, because I might know him.
Hart Dake. No, I don't think he's alive anymore. Right. He used to run the English language school down by Tokyo Station, and he had some people come in for strike breakers, and I came in and broke up the strike breakers. Okay. But that's another story. Right. So anyways, and Bob, help me.
Not beverage.
No, not beverage. But the guy who was doing this, you're the diamond in the rough, and we can bring the diamond. Remember you told me.
No. Okay, wait. No, okay. Don't say his name.
Yes, you told me don't get involved with him.
Yeah, because you saved me on. You remember I was going to get involved with the guy with the diamonds.
Yes.
And you said, Lounge.
Don't do it.
You said don't do it if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck. You said don't, and I didn't. And he got burned right after that.
You bet.
Got burned right after that.
Not only that, a lot of guys got burned. That was Toyota Shoji.
Sure
that was a huge scandal. Remember I said, bring me the diamonds. I'll get them accessed. Bring me the diamonds.
And there's no diamonds, just the tip. That's right.
No, not the paper, not the diamonds. Bring me the diamonds.
Bring me the diamonds. I have no.
Anyways, we've been
right.
through.
We sure have.
Yeah. So anyway, so all that. So then after that was kind of it. The hospital is still going. Palace Guards, I had to withdraw from that. I was unfortunate.
What is that?
The Imperial Guards.
Okay.
I had to withdraw from that.
You decided to withdraw?
I decided to withdraw.
Okay.
The reason I bring up the Chamber of Commerce, there was one guy at the Chamber of Commerce, so, the white paper that the Chamber of Commerce.
Right, we do every year. Yeah.
And so at that time, the Small Business Committee was writing one. And we were progressing. We had a deadline. We were fine. So he called me on the phone. I was in the gym, and he said, Chuck, how you doing on that white paper? I'm doing okay. Yeah, I said, well, no problem. We'll be there. We'll be ahead of schedule. We're ahead of schedule. He says, well, you got to press these people's buttons. I said, excuse me? He says, you got to press these people's buttons. Get them going. Get this thing going. Just like I'm pressing your button. And I said, I think his name was Mark. I said, Mark, you try and press my button, I'm going to rip off your arm and beat you to death with it. Now, I don't get along with. Right. I don't get along with. I'm very happy that I never entered a corporation. I mean, I'll be my own.
Well, you did. The largest in the world, called the U.S. military.
Yeah, well.
And you found out right then. Okay, I can do this, but only because you guys have me.
Well, there. If you don't, they shoot you. So
They can, or in prison. You're right.
But that was it. And then 20 years ago, I started the personal training because somebody approached me. I came out against personal training in the Fitness Business Show. I did. I came out against it. It's not a good idea. Because in a fitness center, people who join a fitness center, the unspoken contract is the fitness center says, we will take care of you. This is the money you pay to enter. This is the money you pay in a monthly dues. But for that, we will take care of your needs. We will give you what you have to know. And you enter on that basis. And then they say, but if you really want to know, or if you want to get any instruction, you have to talk to a personal trainer. And that, in my mind, is disingenuous. Now, I understand that's how things are done now. I understand that many people want personal training, and that's okay if they're given a choice. They can choose to be taught by the staff at the fitness center, or they can choose to be taught by a personal trainer. But if you only have the personal trainers, you don't have it. You're robbed of choice. That bothers me. And so I came out against it. What it really is an economic advantage for the fitness center. Because now they don't have to hire people, train them, and have them quit 3 months later.
Hence, Anytime Fitness.
Hence, Anytime Fitness. But Anytime has no instruction whatsoever.
After a certain time.
Yeah.
They tell you how to work the machine, but they will not sit with you and stay there.
Exactly.
They'll tell you, they'll take you through it, because I belong to Anytime Fitness as well as this gym, as well as another place. But you're right, they have a time. I think they stop at 7, they start at 10, stop at 7. There's nobody in there, and you can go in on your own.
So but people came to me and said, I want to do this, please show me what to show. So yeah, for now, actually, nobody wants to build a fitness center anymore. And they're doing pretty good at building a fitness center now as it is, so they don't really need what I have to offer. Judo classes are fine. So I'm still putting in my 12 hours a day.
Is that what you see for the foreseeable future?
Oh, I'll die in the gym.
Yeah, okay.
I just retirement has never ever been an option for me.
There you go. I think, but it is for me. But it's called exhaling that last breath. That's when
I get plenty of time to rest.
That's right. That's right.
You know, go to that big tatami in the sky kind of thing.
Yeah.
But no. As a matter of fact, I'm starting new stuff. The powerlifting tournament in the TAC. I'm going to run that.
Okay, I didn't hear about that.
You didn't hear about that?
Tell us where you are right now.
Okay. So right now, I teach kids judo down at the YCAC in Yokohama. I do some personal training at the YCAC in Yokohama. I still have the hospital-based fitness center in Ibaragi that I go to once a week. I teach personal training here at the Tokyo American Club. I'm going to run. I prepared all the things you have to do to run a powerlifting contest here in October. I think early October.
For both men and women?
Both men and women. And not a lot of women that do it, but yeah, they're all welcome, certainly.
Right.
But it's rigid. And I tried to hold a seminar about powerlifting, what you have to do to prepare for it. It was, most people weren't interested. It's powerlifting is way off the charts kind of thing. It is a very, very narrow niche of the whole fitness sphere. Then what else? Teach judo classes for kids here on Saturday afternoons at the club. And we're starting an adult class on Monday evenings. And then my own training every couple hours.
You don't train every day, do you?
Oh yeah.
But you do
6 days a week.
Do you really?
Yeah.
You just take one day off?
Yeah.
See, my problem is probably more than I tend to overdo it, and I tend to get hurt because I overdo it. And I'm getting to the stage now where I'm starting to understand how much to do, even though I have 3 pull-up bars at home.
I got a great guy introduced you to.
Okay.
He does personal training here. Yeah, he'd be happy to help you out. And for you, I tell you what, he'd give you a discount, right? Twice what everybody else pays. No, and yeah, the real return for me, personal training. Matter of fact, a lot of people, I've talked to people who are like managers in banks, and they want to give that up and be a personal trainer. I just have to laugh. You're 35 years old. You're a middle manager at a primary bank here. You've got a family, 3 kids, and you're going to do personal training that. Boy, I tell you what. I hope you've got some cash stashed away somewhere.
And you have people that are going to pay you big bucks.
Yeah, I tell you what. So I said no. But for somebody like myself, who is reasonably well off financially. I'm not really that worried. I have reserves that I can call upon. The real reward is like I said before, people work out in order to enhance their feelings of their own worth, their own value. And a lot of people, on one level, they recognize their value. On another level, it's in doubt.
We're always kind of questioning that because it's a day-to-day thing.
Yeah, it is a day-to-day.
It's not like you don't have confidence. You say, okay, it's not the Wizard of Oz. The guy comes from behind the curtain and says, okay, now you have a brain. Now you have courage. Now you have a heart. That's not how it works. You're working on it every single day.
Every single, and I remember I was working with one guy a long time ago, a very good example of this. He's a prominent banker, a banker's banker. And he came to me and he said, I want to get in shape. So I trained him and worked with him, we became good friends. And so we were going to we ran a lot. At that time I was running a lot. And I said, well, you know, the Ome Marathon is coming up. It's 30 kilometers, why don't you try this? That's a good idea, I'll do that. So we trained for it. So went out to Ome on the day, and he was sitting there and he hadn't changed up. I said, what are you doing? He says, I can't do this. I said, what do you mean you can't do this? I said, you run better and longer and faster than I do. Of course you can do it, and I'm doing it. He says, I just don't think I can do this. I said, what's wrong? Are you sick? Are you hurt? No. I said, I tell you what, Andy, stand up, go someplace, get changed. If you do not run, I'm going to tie a rope around your neck and drag you along 30 kilometers. You're going to run that course. Believe me, you can do it. He says, well, I really think so. And he ran much faster than I did. And he changed. His wife called me. He said, what did you do to this man? He's changed. I mean, his staff recognize it. He's effervescent. He's lively. He's funny. He's happy. I said, well, you know, I'm sure that Andy is very, very secure in his knowledge about his profession, but that doesn't always translate to personal value. And the real reward of training people is you see that. I'm working with a guy now who is a great guy, and he's doing powerlifting, and he wants to enter this powerlifting contest, and I'm showing him some things that might be able to help it. And just a great guy. And when he wins, and he's going to win this tournament, this contest, he's going to be so enhanced. And people, that's what the whole thing about fitness and health is. Sure, it makes you healthy, and sure, it makes you fit, and sure, in many cases, it may prolong your life. But the real thing is it increases the sense of your own worth. You don't have to look for any place else. It's not a third-person verification of your value. You know, because you went through the workout today. You lifted the weight. You lifted more than you did last week. You ran longer than you did last week. And now you are better. And you know it. And so that will transfer to everything you do and all your relationships. And that's the value of helping people get to that point.
Chuck, end by telling me something you think of whenever you get in that spot, a phrase or something you tell yourself constantly that you really enjoy and you love, that makes you feel good about who you are.
Like everybody else, I'm assaulted by doubts. Doubts about, I don't deal in regrets, not that woulda, coulda, shoulda kind of crap. I don't deal with that. What's done is done. The past belongs in the past. You can't move forward by looking backwards. But, that being said, sometimes you get a little bit overwhelmed by the different things and the people that depend on you, people that look to you for guidance, people that look for help, and you start feeling a little bit sorry for yourself. And then a little person in my head says, Wilson, get off your dead ass. I said, you made this bed. You traveled this road. Get off your dead ass and get going. You wimp. I kick myself in the ass because you need it. I need that. Nobody else tells me that. Nobody else. In fact, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, you've done wonderful things. You're doing wonderful things," and all that stuff. They don't know me. They don't know me. They don't know the doubts that I am assaulted with. They don't know my misgivings. They don't know the mistakes I've made. And yeah, I've done a lot of stuff that's good, and I will continue to do that as long as I breathe. But that doesn't mean that every day is easy. You know, we all go through that. You're going to have money in the bank to pay the bills. Okay, have you made these commitments to people? What about this? What about these things you procrastinate on? You haven't done this. Come on, get off your dead ass and get to work.
That's what you're talking about, Chuck.
Yep.
As always, thank you so much.
My
Chuck.
pleasure.
I want to thank all of you for watching this podcast. Make sure you press like and subscribe. And never forget, it's all unknown, so continue to reach for the stars. Because
you're too blessed to be stressed.